Deputy President David Mabuza has asked to be excused from scheduled reply sessions in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces on the grounds of ill health. Now, just this week on Monday, he asked to be excused from yesterday's National Assembly sitting again. His office insists that South Africa's number 2 is well and that he is at home and is acting on medical advice. But opposition members of Parliament are demanding answers from the executive, calling for the Surgeon General to clarify his medical condition. As leader of government business in Parliament, that's the Deputy President, he was meant to respond to questions on the status of COVID-19 corruption in investigations. If you remember, Mabuza's last official engagement was back in July when he convened a virtual meeting of the National AIDS Council. Let's unpack the story now. For more, we're joined by DA spokesperson Solly Malatsi, who joins us via our video link. So, Solly, where is David Mabuza? This is a question we've been asking now for some weeks, and unpack for us why it is important that we as South Africans get more clarity on the status of the country's number 2.
Good morning, Michelle and Ayanda and all the viewers. What is important in this instance is that there are contradictions from the official submission from the Office of the Deputy President to the Speaker's office about the reasons why the Deputy President cannot, honor his commitment to answer questions in the National Assembly and also in the National Council of Provinces. And what his office says, to the world, which is what you shared earlier about the claim that he is well. We understand that every individual is entitled to their privacy, particularly around their health, but we are dealing with the second senior citizen of the country and the second most powerful man in the country being the Deputy President. And what we have established that whenever, or in most cases, when it is time for the Deputy President to account to Parliament and the National Council of Provinces, the same reason has been given on at least 2 occasions, that he is not well to be answering questions in the National Assembly, which was due to be yesterday, and in the National Council of Provinces, which was going to be next week. So taking all of this into consideration, it is clear that what is being communicated to Parliament and what his office communicates to the outside world are inconsistent. Therefore, we are of the view that the Surgeon General is best suited to provide clarity on basically one key issue, whether the Deputy President is healthy enough to continue in his role as the Deputy President of the country. If he isn't, then let him be given time to recuperate, and therefore let's move into having a Deputy President who can fulfill his constitutional obligations, who can fulfill his parliamentary obligations. Because it is also important that the Deputy President, as the leader of government business, leads by example in terms of accounting to Parliament. And we have a long list of examples wherein the current executive has not honored their commitments to account in Parliament. And it would appear that there is impunity for this. And secondly, that what was promised by this administration, that there would be a new dawn of accountability and also transparency, is not being stuck to. Hence, we have moved to this step because it is important that the nation is well abreast of what the status of the Deputy President's health is, so that if indeed his health is not fine, we can understand and give him that privacy to do so, and we can then find other channels of holding the government to account. But if
Sorry to come in there. I just want to ask you this. I mean, there are 2 options here in my mind. Either David Mabuza is seriously ill, as you say, and he should then be given the time to recuperate. Or if you're cynical, you might think that there's nothing wrong with him and he's simply trying to avoid accountability by answering questions in Parliament.
Yeah, look, I don't want to venture into cynicism, but it is odd. It is odd that the Speaker is being given the Speaker and Parliament are being given an explanation which his office seems to dispute. That is what raises the suspicion about the legitimacy of the reasons that are being provided. You will recall that yesterday at the Chief Whips Forum, which is the forum where the parliamentary program gets decided and adopted, when the Deputy Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance raised a follow-up on this, the parliamentary councillor, Hope Pabo, who's the former secretary of the ANC in Gauteng, and now the parliamentary councillor to Deputy President Mabuza, said the president can talk, the president can walk, the deputy president can talk, the deputy president can walk, and they don't understand all these questions that are associated with it. What we are trying to get to is that if there is indeed nothing wrong with the president and he is able to execute his functions, Parliament has been sitting virtually. It is not a requirement for him to travel to Cape Town in order to take an oral question session virtually, which is what other members of the same executive that he serves in have been doing. But there are certain sections which claim that our call to get clarity on the health of the deputy president seems to undermine his privacy. And I want to deal with that because there's an important distinction between when there's been a consistent recognition that someone is not in good health, and it is a human thing and a compassionate thing to understand when legitimate reason has been provided. But where there are inconsistencies, it raises suspicion. But secondly, we are not dealing with the average citizen here. We are dealing with the deputy president of the country who's got a major responsibility to fulfill for the functioning of the government, and secondly, for Parliament's ability to fulfill its role in enriching our constitutional democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. The DA spokesperson, Malatsi, as always, thanks very much for coming onto the AM report. I suppose this call for us to get clarity on the situation regarding the health of the Deputy President, all the more important given that he is the head of government business. In fact, he was meant to clarify some questions on the status of COVID-19 corruption investigations just this week. Just one of the reasons why it does seem to be quite an important issue to clarify.